Welcome back, everybody, to Contracting Business Basics. I'm your host, Lori Rawlings, Executive Director of the Plumbing and Mechanical Contractors Association of Oregon, Southwestern Washington, and Northern California. And thank you for hanging in with us for all 15 modules. We are going to go over a summary of the whole course in this final video here. So I'm going to hand it over to our instructor, Hank Brancasio, to walk us through the key points of what you've learned so far.
Thanks, Lori. It's been a long journey to get through all of these to try to help people that are starting a business, contracting business, or buying a contracting business, or taking over a contracting business. Maybe you've been a project manager and you're taking over. So the 15 learning modules, we've gone through the first 3, talk about finances and how do we get work and et cetera. And then we go through all of our external partners we've got to get with. We talked a little bit about construction versus service. We talked about labor fund commitments and the commitment you're making to the labor funds, which is an important part of this. HR issues, always important. Business support to design and estimating, and we just finished safety. Kind of a wrap up of the whole series. So I'm going to break it down into 3 components here. Sales and marketing. Where is my work coming from and how do I acquire work? So you're starting a business, you better be thinking, where am I getting my work from? Who are the customers out there? What are the markets I'm going after? How do I get work? Sales and marketing, that's what it is. And somebody told me this many years ago in my career, nothing ever happens until somebody sells something. So it's a great thing to keep in mind. You can't execute a project. You can't make money on a project unless someone sells something. Now, with a small contracting business, even if it's a one-man shop and you're doing a lot of residential work, that rings true. Nothing ever happens until you sell something or acquire work. Operations, okay, you've sold the work, you've secured the work. Well, now you got to execute it profitably and safely. So it's not just about executing it, it's executing it and making money, not a dirty word, and how to do this safely so nobody gets hurt. And then finally, the financial end of it, how do you price your work? How do you know how much to sell it for? How do you know how much money I need to sustain my business? So 3 major components of Contracting Business Basics broken up into 15 learning modules. Okay, all contractors have both internal and external key partners. Your external key partners can very much help you be successful. So we talked about this. Your insurance agent, your accountant, your attorney, your bonding agent, your banker, those 5 people are your real partners. None of them work for you, so to speak. They're all external partners, but if you get good ones, they can really help you be successful. So keep that in mind. Take your time in finding the right partners. This is not something you want to just do. I met this guy at a bar. I met this guy at a restaurant. He seemed like a pretty good guy. This is not the time where you say, well, he seemed like a pretty good guy. He's either the right person or not the right person. And take your time finding the right people, because in the long run, they can save you a lot of money and reduce your stress and aggravation in running a business. Contracting is much more than what gets installed in the field. People that come out of the trade sometimes think, I'm going to be a contractor. It's how I do my plumbing in the field. Well, that's part of it. It's more than that. It's about quality of workmanship, engineering, customer relationship. Those are the things that everybody kind of is aware of. It's got to be done. It's got to be done right. It's got to work. I got to maintain my relationship with my customer. I got to get the project done in 3 months. That's what everybody thinks contracting is. And that is what contracting is to a degree, but it's a lot more than that. It's about operating a business that is financially responsible. And I say financially responsible, not just responsible, because anybody can get work. The question is, can you get work and make money at it? It's got to be done safely. No question about that. You got to manage people that work for you in a professional and safe manner. You're not a taskmaster out there. It's got to be professional. Many rules and guidelines that need to be followed, rules and guidelines that might be set forth through the union, might be set forth through the state, that you need to, accounting rules and guidelines that need to be followed, legal rules and guidelines that need to be followed. Just can't do whatever you want. You got to conduct yourself in a professional manner with employees, customers, and suppliers. And it's a risk-taking business, but it's a risk-taking business if you can do it in a safe and calculating manner. And so that's important to understand. All of these components make up contracting business basics. Now, we didn't specifically have a learning module on communications, but all of these learning modules, communications is a big part of it. In operating a business, you have got to have good communication skills. You can get away with being an excellent plumber in the field or an excellent steam fitter in the field with questionable communication skills. If you're really good, people put up with it. But when you're managing a business, it doesn't work that way. So the first one I have on there is good listening skills. Listen to what people are telling you and understand what they're telling you, because it affects how they perceive whether or not you're running that business effectively. Good verbal communication skills. Everybody thinks of communication as verbal communication. They don't always think of it as listening. But finally, written communication. And in today's world, written communication is so dominated by email and text. Understand what is good communication if you're sending out an email or a text to employees, an attorney, a banker, a customer, because that they're reading that and they're understanding what that is. It's not just, let me write, a novel in an email. Be precise, be specific about it, and always be professional. My second big bullet item here is, remember, whatever you say or write will become a reflection of both you and your company. This seems to be such a hot topic today in society that people write stuff down without thinking. I'm going to post something on Facebook. I'm going to post it out on Instagram. I'm going to send an email out. And they don't think about what they just wrote in that email. So please be aware of what you're sending out in writing. Can't take it back. Verbally, you can say something to somebody, and that sometimes can either be forgotten, or you could say, well, it's not exactly what I meant. When you write it, it's done. And you need to understand that if you're communicating with employees, customers, vendors, union representatives, be careful what you say in writing, because you can't take it back. And as it says here, be professional when sending it out. Now, here's what I do. This is my little trick. If I had to write an email to somebody that was a strong email, an email that I was trying to get a point across, whatever it might be, customer, a general contractor, an employee, whatever the case might be, two tricks. One is write it out and let it sit for an hour. Just put it out. Don't address it. Just let it sit there as a draft. Wait an hour, maybe wait 4 hours, go have lunch, come back, read it again, and see if, do I still want to hit the send key on this one? The other thing I used to do is I used to have somebody read these for me. If I had to write a challenging email, not all my emails, but if I had to write a challenging email, I would grab one of my assistants. Didn't matter who it was. Could grab a controller, could grab somebody in bookkeeping, somebody I trusted, and go, do me a favor, read this, tell me what you think. And more than once, people would say, Hank, I would not send that email out the way it's written. Let me fix it for you. And they would just smooth it out, make it more politically correct. So I would tell you, let it sit. That's a good rule of thumb. Let the emotion come out of you, especially if you wrote it in an emotional state, and then read it in a couple of hours, an hour. Maybe you might find, maybe I don't need to send it that way. Let me edit it. Good communication is essential in managing a business. I can't explain it any better than that. You can have the best plumber. You could be the best engineer. If you can't communicate effectively in a proper manner, you're going to struggle in business.
And I would just like to add one other piece of advice here. Don't forget about being able to pick up the phone. If you really aren't getting anywhere with emails, if you're going back and forth, especially because you can't really pick up tone from an email, or you can misinterpret tone from an email, especially if it's a relationship you value. Pick up the phone every once in a while and try to talk it out that way, because that sometimes goes a long way toward clearing up misunderstandings and diffusing conflict that may have built up even accidentally over the course of miscommunications through email and text. And of course, there's no substitute for meeting face to face, which is a little harder during the pandemic, but you can still hop on a Zoom call, and that might be an efficient way of clearing things up as well. So I couldn't agree with you more, Hank, that good communication is essential.
I think that if you've been in this business a long time, you came up through the business. So let's think about this. When I first started in the business, there was no email, there was no text, there was no Instagram, Facebook, there was no internet. It's kind of, I mean, it's not like it's not that long ago. How did you do things back then? You picked up the phone. You called people. If there was an issue, you were on the phone. If there was an issue, you got in your car, you drove over to the customer site, you sat in front of the customer, and you worked it out. Painful to do, time consuming to do, but I think there's less chance a misunderstanding will occur when you're sitting directly across them. Or you went to lunch and you sat across the lunch table, you had a hamburger together, and you talked about it. I think anybody that's come into the industry in the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, think everything can be solved with a text and an email. And that's just wrong. It's as simple as that. It just can't sometimes. I mean, what ends up happening is you think you have it resolved, but you don't. It's as simple as that. And so don't ever be afraid to get in your car, drive to wherever you got to go, meet the person, sit down with them over a cup of coffee. Maybe you've got an employee that you're having some issues with, good or bad. Hey, let's get together for coffee. I know that's hard to do today. And I know a lot of people have a tendency to like, oh, I don't want to do that. You know, I'll send them an email. I'll send them a text. It's very informal. And at times it can really be kind of unprofessional, to be honest with you. So good communication is essential in managing a business. Cannot stress it more from that standpoint, whether that is picking up a phone, sending an email, doing a text, meeting with a person face-to-face, having a cup of coffee, goes a long way. I myself, when I managed businesses, I used to make it a point every week to get in my car and go out to job sites and see the guys working in the field, whoever they might be. Because one, it's like, oh, Hank's on a job site. Oh, that's kind of neat. He cares enough to show up. And two, you really get, now you're in an environment, you're not in an office, you're in an environment on a construction site or a service site where you really get to the meat of the matter. And somebody will tell you something there they'll never tell you in the office. It's as simple as that. The final slide of our contracting business basis is good luck in business. Always be open to expanding your knowledge. Don't be closed-minded, like, oh, I've always done it this way, I'm not going to do it any other way. No, be willing to expand your knowledge, learn new things, learn new ideas and methods. And I think over time, you'll be successful in business.
That's great advice, Hank. And remember, I mean, part of the reason the association is here is to help you expand your knowledge and to help you come into contact with new ideas and methods. So don't hesitate to contact me if there is a training you would like to see the association put on, or some written information you think I might be able to track down for you. That's why the association is here, is to help you be successful in business. So I want to thank Hank for all of the time and effort and expertise you have put into the series, Hank. I think it's been really, really helpful. And I hope it really helps some of our newer contractors get started on the right foot and remain successful throughout their careers.
Thanks, Lori. I had fun doing it. And I'm, again, good luck to everybody that's watching this if they're, again, starting a business, taking over a business, or buying a business.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Good luck in business.